The sun is setting over Rome. The markets are closing, and the soft glow of oil lamps begins to light the narrow streets. Tonight, we won't speak of battles or politics, but instead walk quietly through the calm rhythms of Roman life, as families prepare their evening meals, neighbors share stories, and the city slowly drifts into night.
The evening in ancient Rome carried with it a unique rhythm, one that was both familiar and foreign to our modern lives. As the sun lowered toward the horizon, shadows stretched long across the cobblestone streets. Vendors packed away their goods, calling out final offers of olives, figs, and fresh bread to passers-by. The air was warm, scented with herbs and faint smoke from countless cooking fires. Families gathered in their homes, some simple, some grand, preparing for supper. The wealthy might recline on cushioned couches, while common citizens sat around wooden tables, sharing whatever the day's work had provided. In the distance, the murmur of fountains echoed gently, a reminder of the Roman aqueducts that brought fresh water into the heart of the city. Children played quietly, their laughter softened by the evening air. For them, the day's chores were over, and the night promised rest. Unlike the chaos of daytime, when the Roman Forum bustled with debates, merchants, and crowds, nightfall created a hush. People moved slower, conversations grew calmer, and the city seemed to exhale. Imagine yourself standing on a balcony overlooking this scene. The rooftops tiled in terracotta, the streets lit here and there by flickering lamps, and the occasional call of a night bird breaking the silence. It was in moments like these that Romans found peace, the same kind of peace you now seek listening to this story. Life in ancient Rome was not only about emperors or wars. It was also about these ordinary evenings, where routine and simplicity guided the rhythm of countless lives. And in this quiet, we can learn something timeless, that rest, comfort, and the beauty of small moments have always been essential to human life. Inside the walls of a Roman home, evenings unfolded in ways both practical and serene. Imagine stepping into a modest domus, a family house arranged around a central atrium. The faint trickle of water from a small fountain echoes gently, creating a soothing rhythm. Oil lamps low along the walls, casting soft golden light. The shadows dance slowly, bringing warmth to the gathering place. For many families, the evening meal, the cena, was the most important time of the day. It was not rushed. It was a chance to come together, to share food, and to tell stories of work, of neighbors, and of daily happenings. The wealthy reclined on couches in their dining rooms, leaning on one elbow as servants brought small plates, olives marinating in herbs, fresh bread still warm, cheeses and roasted vegetables. Meat was less common for ordinary citizens, but on good days there might be pork, fish, or poultry. The aroma of garlic and honey, mingling with wine diluted with water, filled the room. For humbler families, the meal was simpler, yet no less comforting. A stew of lentils or beans simmered in clay pots, flavored with onions or leeks. Flatbread was torn by hand and dipped into the broth. The soft murmur of voices and the clinking of clay cups gave these moments their rhythm. Children often sat quietly, listening as elders spoke. For them, it was a time to learn, not through lectures, but through the steady flow of family conversation. Roman parents believed in passing down not only traditions, but also the small joys of life, how to savor food, how to sit together, and how to end the day in peace. As the meal ended, the lamps burned lower. Some families lingered to play quiet games, tossing knucklebones like dice, or telling fables and legends. Others preferred to sit in silence, listening to the sounds of the street outside. the occasional footsteps of a neighbor returning home, or the distant hum of laughter from a nearby tavern. Even in the homes of the elite, after the banquets had ended, there was a natural slowing of pace. The music of flutes or lyres would fade, and the grandeur of the evening gave way to stillness. Curtains were drawn. Oil lamps were extinguished one by one. And so, night settled deeper into the heart of Rome. Behind wooden shutters and stone walls, families prepared for rest. Beds were simple, wooden frames with rope supports, layered with straw-stuffed mattresses, or, for the wealthier, softer wool and linen. Children were tucked into their places, perhaps with a small lamp left glowing to keep the darkness away. The rituals of winding down were universal. Just as we might sip tea, read, or speak softly before sleep, Romans too sought comfort. Some whispered prayers to household gods, the lares, asking for protection through the night. Others simply let silence embrace them, finding reassurance in the familiar walls of their home. Through these quiet rituals, the Roman evening closed like a book, page by page, until the city itself seemed to rest. For us, centuries later, it is a reminder that the essence of human life, food, warmth, family, and rest, has always been the same.
When supper was over and homes grew quiet, the streets of Rome began to take on a different character. By day, they were alive with noise, carts rattling over stones, merchants shouting their prices, citizens rushing to the forum. But at night, the city softened. The main roads, lit here and there by flickering oil lamps, became hushed corridors. The chatter of the marketplace was replaced with gentler sounds. The trickle of fountains, the occasional bark of a dog, the faint hoot of an owl hidden in a rooftop. Rome was never entirely silent. It was too vast, too alive for that. But the pace slowed. Neighbors leaned on doorways, exchanging a few last words before retiring. Tavern songs drifted faintly through open shutters, their melodies softened by distance. For those walking through the city at night, the world felt different. The air was cooler, scented with dust, bread, and smoke. In poorer districts, small braziers glowed outside doorsteps, where families might sit for a little while longer to share the night air. The laughter of children gave way to yawns, and eventually to sleep. In wealthier neighborhoods, the marble facades of villas glimmered faintly in the moonlight. Gardens behind walls whispered with the rustle of leaves and the gentle splash of hidden fountains. Servants moved quietly through courtyards, finishing their tasks before bed. If you listened closely, you might hear the creak of a cart making a late delivery, or the shuffle of sandals on stone. A baker preparing for morning work might already be awake, kneading dough by the glow of a small lamp. The city, in its own way, breathed in rhythms of waking and sleeping, all at once. The Tiber River, flowing steadily through the city, carried its own music into the night. Its waters lapped softly against the banks, a constant backdrop that Romans must have found reassuring. Bridges stood silent over the current, their arches outlined against the starlight. Some Romans found comfort in strolling the streets at this hour. Philosophers and poets often spoke of how the mind grew clearer at night when the distractions of day had faded. A calm walk beneath the stars could inspire thoughts that daylight never seemed to allow. And so, Rome after dark was a mixture of quiet industry, soft voices, and moments of true stillness. It was not the roar of an empire, but the whisper of a city at rest. For those lying in their beds, drifting toward dreams, these sounds, faint, layered, and eternal,
were the lullaby of Rome itself.
Not all Romans ended their days immediately after supper. For many, the evening was an opportunity to linger in shared spaces, places where both body and spirit could find calm. One of the most beloved of these was the public bathhouse, the thermae. Though often busy during daylight hours, evenings sometimes offered a quieter rhythm. Imagine stepping into a warm chamber where steam curls slowly through the air, where the sound of trickling water blends with low conversation. Men and women visited separate areas, but their purposes were the same: to cleanse, to soothe tired muscles, and to end the day in comfort. Some would sit in the hot baths, letting the warmth relax their bodies. Others preferred the cool plunge, the shock of cold water awakening their senses before bedtime. Attendants moved gently through the rooms, pouring oils, scraping away dust with curved bronze strigils, and offering small comforts. Even here, where social life and business sometimes overlapped, the bathhouse at night could become a sanctuary, a place where silence spoke louder than words. Beyond the baths, temples glowed softly in the dark. Oil lamps burned before statues of gods, their flames flickering across marble faces. The hush of evening gave these sacred spaces an otherworldly calm. Some Romans stopped on their way home to offer prayers, leaving small offerings of fruit, bread, or incense. For them, the night was not only for rest, but also for reverence. Within the household, smaller rituals unfolded. Many Romans kept a shrine to their lares and penates, protective spirits of the home and family. At the end of the day, families might place a crumb of bread or a sip of wine at the altar, asking for peace and safety through the long hours of darkness. These acts were simple, yet deeply human, a reflection of our timeless need for reassurance before sleep. Others found their nightly ritual in reading or listening to poetry. Scrolls of Virgil or Ovid might be unrolled under the soft glow of a lamp, the verses read slowly, almost like a lullaby. Words carried on parchment could transport listeners into other times, other places, even as Rome itself settled around them. And so the city's layers of sound and stillness deepened. Bathhouses emptied, temples closed their doors, families whispered final words before extinguishing their lamps. The hush grew heavier, spreading from street to street, until the great city itself seemed wrapped in a gentle cloak of night. For the people of Rome, these rituals, whether bathing, praying, or simply listening, marked the transition from the day's demands to the quiet surrender of rest. For us, centuries later, they remind us that even in an empire known for grandeur and conquest, the heart of life was still found in these quiet, personal moments.
As the last lamps dimmed and the streets grew still, Rome entered its most tranquil hours. Behind closed doors, families drifted into sleep, each household breathing in quiet unison with the city around them. Beds creaked softly as bodies shifted, blankets were drawn close, and silence deepened. For the Romans, sleep was more than simple rest. It was a time when the world of dreams mingled with the realm of the gods. Poets wrote of Somnus, the spirit of sleep, who touched weary eyes with gentle hands. To many, dreams were not random images, but messages, fragments of meaning carried through the night. Some awoke and tried to interpret them, while others simply let them dissolve with the morning light. In modest homes, straw-filled mattresses provided simple comfort. In wealthier villas, softer bedding of wool and linen cradled its sleepers. Yet whether humble or grand, the act of closing one's eyes was the same. The burdens of the day,
Debts, duties, or worries fell away. What remained was the hush of breath, the steady rhythm of a body at peace. Beyond the walls, the night sky arched over the city, eternal and unchanging. Romans often looked upwards, tracing constellations, just as we do today. Orion, bright and strong, Venus, shimmering at dawn, the endless sweep of stars across the heavens. To those who paused beneath the sky, the universe offered both mystery and comfort, a reminder that their lives, however busy or grand, were part of something vast and timeless. The Tiber River flowed on, carrying moonlight on its surface. The Colosseum, silent for now, stood like a sleeping giant in the shadows. Marble temples, tiled rooftops, and winding alleys all rested beneath the same quiet dome of night. And so, Rome, a city of power, ambition, and history, found itself in these hours, as we do now, still, calm, and deeply human. Its people sought sleep just as we do, letting the weight of the day fall away and welcoming the embrace of rest. As you listen, imagine yourself among them, lying in a quiet room, the faint scent of oil and herbs in the air, the soft hum of the city fading into nothing. Let the calm of ancient Rome become your calm. Let the stars over its rooftops become the stars over your own night. And as the Romans drifted into dreams long ago, may you too find peace, ease, and the gentle surrender of sleep. If this quiet journey through time helped you unwind tonight, if it brought even a moment of peace into your world, then I'd love for you to stay a little longer with us here on Velvet Nights. Every subscribe tells me that the calm I'm creating is reaching someone who needed it. A simple like keeps this peaceful corner of the internet alive, and a gentle comment, that's like a soft whisper back to let me know you're out there, listening, dreaming. So if this story made your night softer, your thoughts quieter, or your heart just a little lighter, I invite you to subscribe, like the video, and maybe share it with someone who could use a calm night too. Because you're not just helping this channel grow, you're helping keep the art of gentle, thoughtful storytelling alive. Thank you for being here tonight. Sleep well, dream softly, and I hope to meet you again in the next story, friend.